9.5.
9.5. Naomi will come around and give you stamps.
If I like you. Can I turn on the light?
Maybe like this over or something?
Yeah.
Anybody know Feinberg is here today? Anybody know Drummond is here today?
Yes, yes. Yeah, I do.
Students, instead of making all this noise, I'd like to give you a couple of things to do. Number one, I'd like to show you a trailer for tonight's film. After reminding you that we will be observed by an assistant principal tomorrow, so please remember to have all of your paperwork managed so that tomorrow we can all be extra studious. But check this out. Tonight's movie is actually kind of awesome. It's got everyone's favorite boy toy narrator. See if you recognize him by the voice only. Is he a man or is he a boy? Nobody knows.
The evidence is now clear.
Name that voice.
Civilizations are irreparable damage.
That's definitely Leo. And I just want to point out, who was the first to call it? Yeah, Tyler.
Works with more to come that the UN estimates that by the middle of the century that there are 150 million environmental remedies. There are too many of us moving too many resources too fast. The problem is
Please be quiet.
The tragedy of the potential extinction is the trial we face the convergence of crises, all of which are necessary for life. Well, how is the generation really being able to find people who need knowledge or things they can do in their daily life? Our president the doctor of all of life. Existing technology can literally reduce human footprint on planet Earth by 90%. So you have to imagine what it would be like to be designed by ourselves. These are not technical issues nearly as much as their leadership issues. There was a time when Republicans and Democrats going to pass major environmental laws 500 years out. People look back at this time. The goose was on finance now. But if they can rely, this generation gets to completely change the response.
How can I compel you guys not to speak during the trailer because some students do care? Would it be better for me to be punitive? Would it be better for me to be permissive? skip the movie series, skip the trailer part, skip the part where I show you what's on that night. I am not okay with you talking during these. And I made that clear because I had to be quiet 3 times in the process of starting this. And when I finished, all 4 of you were talking together. I'm surprised you could even understand each other with 4 people talking at the same time on stage. And then a couple people talking over there, and then somebody in the back that I couldn't identify. Super frustrating. Why is it called the 11th hour? It's you're supposed to finish all your business before the end of the day, and so the 11th hour would be right before the 12th hour, which would be the time. Also, like, more than doomsday. Yeah, right. The doomsday, how close we are to 12 hours, like, right. So that's another expression of the same metaphor, I think. Yeah, so the idea here is that we are approaching doom. I don't know how many of you could hear it because of all the students talking, but actually during the trailer they said it's not just the 11th hour, it's 11:59. That's pretty close to 12. Yeah, it's pretty close to 12, right? So tonight at 6 p.m., this is actually, I think, one of the better movies on climate. Not so much because of Leonardo's annoying goatee. But the thing that I find really, really good about this movie is the experts they get to talk. I've never seen a single documentary that got so many high-class pop scientists. The guy has somehow pulled together speakers that charge $1 million for speaking and a whole bunch of them. So I'm kind of blown away how much money was put into getting all those experts to talk in the same film. Yeah?
When he came to the film festival a few years ago, we talked about his, like, acting.
Yeah, and he produced this film. It was kind of like his, I think it was right after Titanic. So he had, I'm guessing, a lot of media attention and potentially a lot of revenue that he could leverage into this effort. That's cool. Yeah, so as a movie, the things that I find most compelling, it has a lot of experts talking about climate, and it's one of the only movies that actually talks about solutions, not just problems. Okay. Did we do this part yesterday?
We talked about it. Yeah.
We did?
Yes.
And did we talk about El Nino?
No.
Okay. Did we talk about positive and negative feedback to climate? Yeah, so like cloud cover could be negative or could be positive depending on how high the clouds are. Did we talk about rain on snow events? Okay. So we are somewhere in number 22. Let me remind you, the major negative feedbacks are CO2 feeds algae, which controls CO2. CO2 feeds vegetation, which controls CO2. More water vapor means more snow and ice, which means more albedo. Albedo is a vocab term. It means how reflective the planet is. So when there's more snow and ice on the ground, more light bounces back to space and is not absorbed and makes heat. It's not a black sweater, white sweater, it's a mirror sweater. Did we discuss these parts yesterday? The positive feedbacks? No? Then I'll slow this down and do it again. You need to know the following feedbacks. This is number 22. And I was, maybe I did this in another period. Remember, first of all, that a positive feedback is something which increases the rate of itself, and a negative feedback is something which slows itself down. You guys remember this? It's not something that makes you feel better. It's not a compliment versus insult. It's not things we like or dislike. It's not growth or shrinking. It's actually more of the same or self-regulating. So, positive feedback. Number one, extra CO2 helps algae grow. And if you have more algae, you'll soak up more CO2. So that would be positive or negative first? You said positive. I'm sorry, I meant negative first. Might be dumb. So the extra algae is a negative feedback. Also, CO2 helps plants grow, and increased vegetation sucks down CO2. That's also negative, self-regulating. Another negative feedback is that more water vapor means snowy regions are going to get extra snow. And if you're getting extra snow, you're covering the ground better. So it's more reflective, more sunlight goes back to space instead of being made into heat. So on a hotter planet, you'll get more water vapor, and that means snowy regions might have more snow, and if they do have more snow, their albedo goes up. I've thrown in a vocab term. Albedo is how reflective something is. By the way, how many of you found this word in your book somewhere? Okay. Next. There is a question about clouds. More water vapor would mean more clouds, and if those clouds are low, they reflect light back out to space and cool the planet. Negative feedback. Yeah, apparently, I looked into this finally. Lower clouds are more dense, so because they're more solid, they're shinier, they're more reflective, so they bounce back light and shade the earth. Yeah, because they're under more pressure. They're under more pressure, so they're more condensed, right? Now, of course, there are positive feedback possibilities also. And the first positive feedback I want to mention is the other cloud option. What happens if those clouds are high? If they're high, they tend to be wispy. So the sunlight makes it through the cloud, but the water vapor is still there, so you get positive feedback. Remember that water vapor is the main greenhouse gas. So clouds are in the negative feedback if they are low. Because of their density, they increase albedo. Clouds are positive feedback if they are high, because there's still water vapor that does greenhouse warming, but the clouds will be wispy so light gets through. Anybody want to ask me about this? Because I fumbled the explanation. I'm sure it's my fault, but I want to help. Okay, so I'm moving on with clouds. Next, of course you have it. You've been zoning out with your book all closed up. Another positive feedback you've already heard about is methane. Remember, as the planet gets hotter, the permafrost will melt. As the permafrost melts, the methane is released from methane hydrate, and we get more global warming. Remember the methane hydrate thing from the previous unit, the energy unit? No. Here's another positive feedback that I thought was totally insignificant, and then someone showed me the numbers. It's quite significant. When the planet gets hotter, I know, you're so charming with it. When the planet gets hotter, people use more air conditioning. And air conditioning is the primary electricity usage for large homes. So on a hotter planet, more people turn on the AC, so they use more electricity, so they make more CO2, which makes the planet hotter. The funny thing is, if you're rich enough to afford air conditioning, you don't know that you're cooking all the people who can't afford air conditioning. Around you, right, so your neighbors are screwed too. Yeah, right. Okay. And you make your cities hotter, which makes them deadlier and the air more toxic. Good time.